Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
5:07 now on O'Connor and Company. It's Thursday. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Coming up at 7:15, Kirby Birch is with the Virginia Hunting Dog Alliance. Dodged a bullet there. If you love your amazing hunting dogs in Virginia, it's a big part of the culture. Of course, the Democrats in Richmond wanted to do away with that because they hate Virginia, basically, in Virginia's history. But it looks like it died down in Richmond. We'll get an update from Kirby Birch coming up at 7:15. 7:35, Representative John McGuire, former Navy SEAL. He's a Virginian. Talk about what's going on in Virginia as we now have updates on that murderer, the illegal alien murderer in Fairfax, and it's getting even worse for Mr. Descano and Mrs. Spanberger. Coming up at 8:05, KT McFarland will give us the latest on Iran and what the end game might look like. And at 8:35, the chairman of the RNC, Joe Gruters, talk about these midterms now that some of the bigger primaries are behind us. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor. And my goodness, it's Bethany Mandel here on a beautiful Thursday morning. Good morning, Bethany.
She's back again. You can't get rid of her.
I hope your Purim was joyous and unplugged and out to lunch and insane.
It was so fun. It's the best holiday. Though, I will say, a Russian got extremely wasted at our synagogue and started kissing the rabbi, and then he fell over and threw up on himself. And my kids learned a valuable lesson about alcoholic excess.
I've learned that lesson many times in my life. Mm-hmm. For some reason,
my children learned it
you keep
just
forgetting
the one time.
it. Yes, that's fantastic. I love that it was a Russian, too.
Of course.
Let's go. So, yesterday we gave an update of all of the primaries out of Texas, and most of the focus has been on the Texas Senate primary and James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett and the drama behind John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. And there were rumors yesterday that President Trump is going to come out and endorse John Cornyn and ask Ken Paxton to get out of the race. And I don't think Ken Paxton will get out of the race, and I don't think President Trump is going to endorse John Cornyn. I could be wrong, though. John Thune asked him yesterday on Fox News, sort of made a plea, and something tells me that if John Thune has influence over President Trump's political decisions, he wouldn't be going on Fox News to make the plea. He would, be in the Oval Office making the plea. But listen, President Trump certainly, if that's something that Mr. Thune wants, President Trump is a pretty good negotiator, and he might say, oh, is that what you want from me, John? Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't you push the SAVE Act? You get the votes across the line for the SAVE Act. Show me how John Cornyn is part of the effort to pass the SAVE Act, and then I'll endorse him. Let's see what happens there. That would be a good thing for the president to do. Anyway, lots of talk about the Texas primaries, but we missed one very important story, Bethany, and I can't believe I missed this. Do you mind if I take a moment on this primary story?
You're going to drive this segment, baby.
Am I? Well, Texas primary yesterday that sort of went unnoticed. This was in the House of Representatives in the 21st Congressional District. A lot of people, really were focusing on Dan Crenshaw's district there, and the fact that he did not get reelected by his Republican constituents to represent them again. So former Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw will be serving out his final term here. But this one, I think, actually will have more of a lasting impact on Washington, D.C. In the 21st Congressional District, the winner going away by a 61 to 10% margin in the Republican primary was former Major League Baseball All-Star Mark Teixeira. Mark Teixeira was an all-star third baseman and then first baseman for the Rangers, for the Angels, and for the Yankees. And he will absolutely win his district in the general election, which means Mark Teixeira is coming to Congress. But more importantly, Bethany, it means that the Republicans will not lose another congressional baseball game in our lifetimes.
So I have some sad news for our listeners who were rooting for the Democrats.
Yeah.
I bet that there's a lot of them, especially who are awake at 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent, when you were just talking, I spent that time Googling to make sure I could say this on the air.
Yes.
Because sometimes FCC rules concern me a little bit.
Oh, you just Googled what words you're about to use on the air? I love this. We're all holding our breath. And Michael Shelton has his hand on the dump button just in case you got it wrong.
As he should. The Democratic Party are full of beta males.
Oh, yeah.
And there's another word that I still don't think I should use on the air, but I did just before we started talking.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, there's a problem among the left of just an absolute unwillingness to assert in anything resembling a healthy way. I was just reading a New York Post op-ed actually about this from Leonard Sachs about how permissive parenting is like, the parenting perspective of the left, whereas on the right it's much more authoritative. And that's the case among Democratic men as well. I think my children, who are almost a baseball team, because I'm not married to a beta, so I have a lot of children. I think my children could beat the Democrats in baseball at this point. I think we're almost there.
For a while there, they were doing okay because they had a ringer. They had a former major league player. I think it was a major league player as a pitcher, a congressman from Louisiana, but he termed out or didn't win re-election. So, I mean, they can get one or two players that can step up once in a while, but not consistently. But you're right. The pendulum certainly has swung in a major way. I mean, we've got Steve Scalise going up there still taking his bats after being near death after taking a bullet in that congressional baseball game.
Yeah.
But you're right. The Republicans tend to attract the alphas and the athletes and the football players and Mark Teixeira. And yeah, if you like your Democrats in these athletic events, it's not looking good for the future. I mean, they have James Tallarico though. They got that.
Maybe. But he's also beta.
I know that's my point. But he's the one they're presenting and putting out there as saying, "See, look, we're Christian too, and we can be, manly. We've got James Tallarico."
I know.
Yeah,
it's so sad.
Why do you think that? I mean, setting aside how cool Mark Teixeira is and the fact that he's going to be coming to town, and that's kind of fun because I'm sort of starstruck about baseball players, but. Do you think the Democratic Party sort of made this shift? They decided that their future was with female voters, and in some way that means that the only men they would embrace would be less masculine men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the best they've got to offer is Gavin Newsom. Tim Walz was put on the ticket because Kamala Harris thought that he would attract more manly men from the Midwest. Do they just not understand men?
So it's an interesting question. So with Gavin Newsom, I think he is actually he is a hottie. Objectively,
he's a hottie. When you say that, whatever.
He is an appealing man visually, but he's not appealing to men. I mean, you're correct that they don't understand how to deal with men, and I think it's because everyone who runs their party is a woman or a gay man. They don't actually have men who could speak man and say, "Hi, the camo hat is not doing anything for you, Tim Walz." That's not how you talk to us. But I mean, they have decided that masculinity is toxic. This is part of their whole their whole ethos is that it's toxic, and so naturally, men are not going to be attracted to this, and they wonder why they're having a hard time, talking to working class people and doing anything populist or anything. It's because they don't speak the language anymore, and if you look at where they do best, it's in the major metro areas, and they call the middle of the country flyover country. There's no winning coalition there, and I don't know how you form it, and it's a real problem. And Democrats have decided that their winning strategy is talking about how bad Israel is. And this is this Israel first mentality that I think is happening across the political spectrum. People don't care. And I'm saying this as a Jew who cares very much, who just spent 5 weeks there. People don't care about Israel. They want to make sure that they can afford their groceries. And this weird, bizarro fixation that they all have on Israel is hurting them because not because Israel is like this sacred cow, but just because people are like, I don't care.
Right. Why is it all you want to talk about is Israel? And if you scratch the surface of the people who only want to talk about Israel, within 3 questions, maybe 2, you'll hear them say, well, because everything that's happening here is because of Israel. And then it's like, okay, pal. Okay.
Right.
Well, I want to keep pulling on this thread, and we've got some more news out of that Texas primary, including quite a response yesterday about James Tallarico, and as I mentioned, this whole drama over whether Trump will endorse John Cornyn, or maybe he'll surprise all of the smart set in D.C. and endorse Ken Paxton, or maybe he'll just stay out of it and let Texans decide without his influence. Whatever, we'll get into all of those details in a moment. First, though, it's 5:17. Mark Teixeira, he's coming to town, and I mean, who isn't excited about the Congress? Let me tell you something. The congressional baseball game is going to be lit next June. I don't care who's holding the gavel. Well, I do care who's holding the gavel for the Republicans. Oh, and by next June, I mean June of 2027, because we got to have the general election before Mark Teixeira can officially play for the congressional baseball team for the Republicans. But it's just going to be a slaughterhouse. It's going to be a wipeout. It's going to be so fun to watch Mark Teixeira get up there and just, I mean, we're going to have home run after home run after home run from this guy. Have you seen him? He's jacked. The guy has got like an upper body like a what?
Larry, I'm going to break something too. That's going to be really heartbreaking, and I'm sorry.
Don't break my heart. Is he going to say it wouldn't be fair, so I'm not going to participate?
No. Oh. Democrats are going to disqualify him somehow.
They'll figure something out.
They're going to figure out the fairness doctrine of congressional baseball, and they are going to annihilate his participation somehow.
It's another reason why we can't let Hakeem Jeffries get that gavel. In fact, it may have gotten to the top of the list.
It's the gerrymandering. It's the same thing. When they can't fight fair, they change the rules of the game, and that's what they're going to do. I'm so sorry, Larry O'Connor.
So the big parlor game in town is whether Trump, or it's not even whether Trump, when will Trump endorse John Cornyn? By the way, the reason that there's a lot of pressure on Trump to endorse John Cornyn here, first of all, John Thune and all the Republican, I shouldn't say all, but the Senate Republican leadership apparatus who helped John Cornyn raise $100 million in this first round. $100 million, and he tied Ken Paxton, who just spent about $5 million. The big pressure on the president for that. Also, by the way, the president's campaign apparatus, many of the people who helped him in his 2024 campaign are working for John Cornyn. So
I didn't know that. What an interesting little bit of inside baseball.
Oh, yes. Which a lot of people thought that Trump would endorse earlier than this because of that alliance, because of that. The question is, who is he loyal to, his campaign people or the actual politicians? Because if you're just saying, okay, who's been more loyal to Donald Trump over the years? Ken Paxton certainly has, more so than John Cornyn has been. So that's part of the intrigue going on here, too. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and yesterday the president put out this post on Truth Social, which certainly looks like he's going to be making this move. The question is whether it's a very public-facing move or whether it's behind-the-scenes jockeying. Here's what he said. Republican primary race for the United States Senate in the great state of Texas, a state I love, won 3 times in record numbers, the highest vote ever recorded by far, cannot, for the good of the party and our country itself, be allowed to go on any longer. It must stop now. We have an easy-to-beat radical left opponent, and we have to totally focus on putting him away quickly and decisively. Both John and Ken ran great races, but not good enough. Now this one must be perfect. My endorsements within the Republican Party have been virtually insurmountable. It is such an honor to realize and say that almost everyone I endorse wins, and wins by a lot, especially in Texas. I'll be making my endorsement soon, and will be asking the candidate that I don't endorse to immediately drop out of the race. Is that fair? We must win in November. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump.
When he signs off like that, you know he means business. He's gonna bomb whoever doesn't drop out. I think it's interesting that he is sort of teasing a little bit. To me, it kind of feels like Paxton and Cornyn are expected to participate in what amounts to, oh my God, what was the reality show?
The Apprentice?
The Apprentice. Maybe he should do an Apprentice style hoop jumping for Cornyn and Paxton and air it and use that as a fundraiser for this race. What do you think?
Maybe. I hadn't
Wouldn't that
thought
be
of
fun?
That. It would be, although it would sort of play into the stereotype, right?
What stereotype? That he's a reality star? Lean in, man. That's why we elected you.
I guess that's true. Yeah, maybe. By the way, it's Chris LaCivita, who was a big part of the Trump 2024 campaign, who is now the campaign manager or chief pollster or strategist for John Cornyn. And it's going to get ugly.
To me, it feels like the biggest argument against Paxton is the personal scandals. And I think Donald Trump is impervious to conversations about personal scandals and divorce and all of those things. And so it probably doesn't even factor. But I think also, and I say this with disappointment, voters don't care. Don't care about how you comport yourself in your personal life.
That's right. Well, listen, we just learned yesterday that the Democrat opponent who wraps himself in his Christianity is a frequent proprietor of the OnlyFans porn platform. So
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, you missed that? Oh, yeah,
No,
James Tallarico.
this.
James Tallarico has been following and fanboying off of OnlyFans porn models on social media. That's been around for a few months now.
I missed this completely.
Yeah.
There's
well,
so much
he's a better
news.
Christian than all of us, Bethany. Don't forget.
I mean, I think this is an important time to have a conversation about the impact of pornography and how
I
normalized
agree,
it is.
except for the fact that it's 5:24.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:37, and we are here to start you up on this Thursday morning in your nation's capital. Coming up at 7:15, Kirby Birch of the Virginia Hunting Dog Alliance. At 7:35, Representative John McGuire of Virginia. 8:05, KT McFarland. And then at 8:35, the chairman of the RNC, Joe Gruters, Larry O'Connor, with Bethany Mandel. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning, Larry O'Connor.
Yeah, it's a social media account, Amuse. You ever follow Amuse? Amuse has some pretty good stuff.
so.
Good. It's an anonymous social media X account, which, again, I always sort of look a little suspicious when it's someone who's anonymous. But they say just got off the phone with a reliable source. Trump's true social post about endorsing in the Texas Senate runoff was sent out without his authorization. Same source revealed that Susie Wiles told Wesley Hunt not to endorse anyone until the president announced his endorsement. That's probably smart politically, by the way. Doesn't take a genius to sort of figure that one out. Hunt was all set to endorse Paxton, according to this account. Lots of drama. It's very telling that Trump hasn't called either of the two candidates. Was the True Social post released prematurely to force Trump's hand or to alert Texas voters to make their support for Paxton known? This is high drama. Vince Colonnese, our buddy here on the Noon to 3 show here in WMAL, noted that the replies to Trump's True Social post that we noted moments ago was almost unanimously in favor of Ken Paxton. And Vince speculates, I wonder if Trump was using it as kind of a makeshift straw poll to see where the public is on this.
Yeah, it's a tribal one.
We shall watch. Meanwhile, over on The View, the likes of Bethany Mandel, you're never allowed to be there and be the voice of conservative women in America, Bethany. It originally conceived, The View was supposed to be literally multiple views, all exchanging information from a woman's perspective. I thought Barbara Walters was an absolute genius coming up with this concept. It's morphed now, as many things in mainstream media morph, into, just basically the talking points of the Upper West Side of Manhattan and elite circles in liberal Democrat conversations. Elizabeth Hasselbeck used to be on this program, but she got into it too much with Rosie O'Donnell over Rosie's insistence that 9/11 was, an inside job. And I think she also thought Israel may have been involved in 9/11. I can't remember where she came down on that one, but she was sure that fire couldn't melt steel, which always makes me laugh, because does she know where steel comes from and how it's created? Anyway, Elizabeth Hasselbeck is back now for a maternity leave enjoying Alyssa Farah. And boy, is she back with a vengeance. Take a listen. Cut one.
Put forward the statistics that 0 illegals released into the U.S. for 10 months straight have not crossed, okay? That nearly 3 million aliens have left the United States, that we have the lowest murder rate in 125 years, that fentanyl trafficking is down 56% at the border, and daily encounters have gone down 96%. Hang on one second. We need a strong border, especially now with our current global situation. And I believe that you may say you don't want border control and you're against ICE, but I actually don't believe you in your daily lives. How many people in the audience here had to go through security to get here? Raise your hand. Just be honest. Otherwise, you go to jail, I guess, for illegal trespassing, right? This is an authorized audience. They had to go through security to get through the border, to get right here, to just hear us talk. We need strong borders more than ever right now. We are being infiltrated.
But Elizabeth, can I give you
not on the border when Renee Good and Alex Peretti were murdered, and death is not a mistake. That was a murder. No, that was a murder. Now let me finish.
As were those killed by illegal immigrants.
Let's not be dismissive about the fact.
I'm not dismissive. I just said all their lives matter.
I love that they try to change the subject there when she points out the hypocrisy of everyone had to go through security to get into this room just to hear us talk. That's good stuff. And with the View audience hasn't seen that kind of argumentation for quite some time.
So the View audience of waiting rooms, mostly, it must be painful to have spent so many years on The View, and I'm talking about Alyssa Farah, when before you, people used to share View clips all the time, and after you now, people are sharing View clips again. There's something about Alyssa Farah that does not inspire anyone to share a View clip, and it's because it's boring. It's because it's a whole echo chamber.
That's right.
I wonder how fast they'll get rid of Elizabeth Hasselbeck, because Lord knows they can't have an actual conservative on this show. Maybe
they won't allow
make
it.
Alyssa Farah bring her baby, and that's like,
yeah,
they're like her 3-week-old baby.
I mean, I've made no secret of the fact that I'm friends with Meghan McCain, and she's told me plenty of things about what goes on in that green room, in the makeup room. It's so nasty. Those women are so nasty, and the producers of the show are so nasty and hostile to anyone with a differing opinion. And it's not like, Meghan McCain is a MAGA hat wearing, devotee to Donald Trump, but even she was absolutely unwelcome there. All right, so a little bit more from Elizabeth Hasselbeck specifically, because again, you heard the Trump card that they love to play, Renee Good and Alex Peretti, but Renee Good and Alex Peretti, and you never hear any sympathy there for the untold innocents that had been murdered by criminal illegal aliens. So Hasselbeck gave voice to those people. Cut 2.
I hate the fact that people are dying in this. My heart actually bleeds for this. It also bleeds for Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungare, Rachel Moran, Matthew Dennis, Sarah Ruitt, Ivory Smith, all killed at the hands of illegal immigration. This needs a fix, but it needs a fix now. And let me tell you, this is tactical, practical. Yes, the how matters. Yes, it was done without a how during the Biden administration and Obama.
Okay, here's the thing.
She's made it worse.
She has actually solved the problem in the
and
past year
Biden
with
out
the
of here,
mistakes.
because let's move that. Because, Joe Biden, I remember during the speech to the nation, said, we have a good border plan that is bipartisan.
Yeah.
It failed.
No, it didn't fail. The Republicans were told by who,
To block
don't
it.
do this.
To block it.
this. So that's the first thing. But more than anything, nobody wants anyone murdered.
No.
Nobody wants anyone murdered.
We want peace.
I don't think anybody here would. What? Are you rushing me? You want me to go faster? No, I'm not going to finish it. I'll finish it when we come back.
Oh.
There you go. Just like network television, we also have commercial breaks. So we'll finish it when we come back with Whoopi Goldberg in a second here. But I do love the fact that lost on Whoopi Goldberg is the obvious fact that clearly that border plan that Joe Biden made an announcement to the American people about, that he really desperately needed to enforce the border, that she claims Donald Trump killed. Well, Donald Trump was able to enforce the border without that plan. So what's the difference here? Why doesn't she understand that logical point?
You said we had to go to commercial break. I'm not answering that rhetorical question.
I know, but I was going to let you at least people want to hear from you.
I
All right, we'll
respect
hear from
time,
Bethany
yeah.
in a moment. We'll also hear from Whoopi Goldberg. Boy, there's a tease coming up in a moment as well. It's 5:44. All right, Bethany. So we're exploring these really newly lively conversations on The View because Elizabeth Hasselbeck is there actually representing a conservative perspective with facts and with passion. She made the point about the illegal border crossings under Biden and Obama and the murderers that came across and the innocent Americans who were killed because of it that you never hear about. You only hear about Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And Whoopi Goldberg says, oh, let's not talk about them because they had a plan. And Republicans, Trump killed it, but, lost in that conversation is the fact that Trump was able to secure the border without needing that all-important plan. The plan, of course, which would have granted amnesty to thousands, and if not millions, of illegal immigrants.
No, I mean, they act as though immigration was not one of the primary things that we all voted on.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris was the border czar,
Yeah.
and we were given a choice between her plan as border czar and President Trump. And President Trump won pretty overwhelmingly. He won the Electoral College pretty overwhelmingly. He won the popular vote. And it's so refreshing that the perspective of the majority of American voters is back on ABC television ever so briefly before they can her.
That's right. That's a very good point. And here's the other reason why. First of all, we love this because we see our views represented finally on a show called The View, right? Also, this is what's so important about standing up for yourself and speaking in a very clear, intelligent, fact-based, rational way like Elizabeth Hasselbeck just did. Believe it or not, boys and girls, as we're having our morning conversation, believe it or not, you actually, even if you don't get the other side to change their mind, you start to actually affect the way you begin to affect the way they talk about these issues, and they start stipulating obvious facts that they would never stipulate if you had Alyssa Farah, as part of the conversation. Because when they came back from that all-important commercial break, lo and behold, wonder of wonders, miracle of miracles, Whoopi Goldberg now suddenly wants strong, secure borders. Take a listen.
Welcome back. So I was going to say that one of the things that I think everybody in the nation wants is they want tight borders. They want people who are not good for the country out of the country.
Hold on. Pause there for a second. Where was this revelation during the presidential campaign, or for that matter, the 4 years of the Biden presidency? You see what I mean? I'll let her finish in a second, Bethany, but I mean, you engage in conversations with people who you disagree with all the time. It's one of the things we love about you. Do you notice that there are some people who are entrenched? They will never move. Whoopi Goldberg is one of those people, but she also recognizes that there are some obvious facts that you just cannot ignore anymore. And you see the quick revelation coming back from the break. Oh, everybody wants a secure border. Well, that's the first time that audience has heard Whoopi say that.
Yeah. So this is the problem for people who live in New York City or where we live, for example, Washington, D.C. When you are surrounded by people who think like you do, it makes you into someone who is worse at making arguments and making your case. And you and I, having always lived in blue areas, are very good at talking to liberals and speaking their language, and it's all about empathy, yada, yada, yada. But it makes you effective. They do not understand, and they're worse for it. They do not understand how to talk to a conservative because, except for Meghan McCain, ever so briefly, and they bullied her instead of talking to her, they don't interact with people with our views. And that was why they brought on Alyssa Farah, because it's more comfortable to surround yourself with people that agree with you or who will roll over and agree with you, even if they don't necessarily. I don't know what Alyssa Farah believes because she's changed her perspective 5 times in the last.
We remember her like 6 Alyssa Farahs ago,
Exactly,
I think,
exactly.
back in the day. Yes, it's, by the way, quickly, just personally, it's one of the reasons why I've been being a guest on this morning meeting show that Mark Halpern hosts, streaming online, because the whole conceit of that show is unlike this, where everybody starts yelling at each other or it's like 5-on-1. It's very even-handed, and our approach, I'm on there with a Democrat every day when I do the show, that is, and we approach each issue not in a way that we're debating and trying to win an argument. We're just trying to explain to the audience why we believe what we believe.
Right. Right.
Which is a completely different way. If you imagine if Crossfire back in the day on CNN was not about trying to outdo the other person, but instead to say, let me just explain why I believe what I believe so that our viewers can all at least understand my perspective. That would change the way political discourse is handled in this country.
Yep.
Like that. So now let's get back to Whoopi Goldberg, because watch how they move the goalposts, you see. Back when first they claimed there was no border crisis, but then they said, well, these people just want asylum, and look at the poem on the Statue of Liberty. Of course, we got to let everybody in who wants a better life. And then if you want to deport them, even if they're a murderer, you say, well, how dare you do that? You can't do that because these are the people who pick our crops and clean up our hotel rooms. And now they've moved the goalposts even further. So listen to the new argument. Go ahead, Whoopi.
Of the country. But if you go in and you say that's what you're going to do, and suddenly you're sweeping up 5-year-olds and people, I mean, I will say in the vaguest form, folks that I work with outside of here have stopped going out to church. They have stopped taking their kids to school. Because they're nervous, and that is not what this should be about. People who come here, I'm talking respect because I know you have stuff to say, but people who pay taxes, because just because you haven't become a citizen doesn't mean you're not paying taxes.
Actually,
see how they've moved the argument, and now it's about 5-year-olds being afraid to go to church and school and everything. And it's like, well, okay, that's fine, but at least now we're having a conversation on a much different playing field, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, this is such classic, and why even though I do it, why I find it so frustrating to talk to liberals, because when they cannot operate with facts and logic, they have to shift to emotional blackmail.
Right.
And that is what you just witnessed. And I think the problem for conservatives, and I count myself as one of them who has this problem, I have a very hard time arguing with that. And they know that. And I think that what makes Donald Trump so effective is that he is impervious to it in a way that very few people are. Because when people throw this stuff at him, he just laughs at them. He's just like, oh, forget. Like, I'm not engaging in this emotional blackmail. But he does it in a way that, because anyone can do that, but he does it in a way that doesn't make him look like a jerk. Maybe because he's so jovial. I don't know. But he is uniquely skilled at dealing with this kind of.
You're right. And in that spirit, if I can jovially just give everybody, a little ammunition here, if someone comes to you and says, it's like, oh, I'm all for ICE enforcing the laws, but now you've got 5-year-olds afraid to go to church, just remind them that the only church that has been invaded over the course of the last year plus of the Trump administration, it was invaded not by ICE, but by Don Lemon. It's 5:55.